As most of you realize, folks that call themselves atheists frequently have a large number of opinions which do not directly relate to atheism, but which they share, having to do with treating people fairly, regardless of their race, their gender, their sexual persuasion, freedom of speech, preventing this planet from being destroyed, preventing the human race from being destroyed. And I think at the heart of all of these and more is the notion of rationality and scientific method and critical thinking. I like to think of this as atheism with benefits, because atheism is actually just a part of a style of thinking, a modern way of looking at the world. And when we look at the world this way, we see that it is a better place when people are treated fairly, where people do not engage in magical thinking and the reliance on old texts and gods to tell them how to behave and how to treat others. But it goes beyond that. It goes and speaks to the point of us creating our own meaning. A proximal meaning, something that is in the here and now, not in the long term. A purpose, a meaning. To make the world a better place, to think critically of how to do that, and to understand that reason alone is insufficient. Because just to be a rational human being without appealing to one's emotions is essentially denying evolution. If you look at the neurosciences, you know that emotions are what moves us. And it is not rational to be a Vulcan, because as human beings we need the reason and the critical thinking, but we need more. We need to understand that we share a collective unconscious, that we are moved by mythology, by analogies, by allegories, by metaphors, and by symbolism, and that they are the very underlying mechanisms of our mind that exist prior to consciousness. So our reason is a tool, but it is not an end-all or be-all, because we are more than that, and reason tells us in numerous studies that we must use all of our minds. I think that rather than a purpose or a meaning, that we are engaged in a journey. That journey need not be out into space or under the sea or into unreached places on the surface of the earth, into caves, but into ourselves, to see what we can become and how we can better ourselves and make things better for future generations, without relying on the magic and the thinking of people that are superstitious and worship imaginary beings and creatures and strange sort of thinking that cannot be verified. What we must do is be human beings, to use our reason and to use our emotions and to appeal to those parts within our minds that move us, because reason does not move. It is but a tool, and it is an impotent tool without something that gives power to it. That motive force. That is what rhetoric is about. That is what soaring prose and poetry is about. We must be all these things. And of course, when I say must, there is no imperative there. It is just myself. It's just I saying I believe this is what we must do. It's up to all of us. And many on YouTube have made it quite a career in educating others about rationality, about fairness, about where we can go and what we can be. And this is a very noble and important task, because it has a snowballs-like effect. It grows because it affects one person and another person and another person as they change and talk to other people. I know it's happened to me. Since I've been on YouTube, I've changed so much because of the things I've heard from so many people. And so, I commend you all that are engaged in this adventure. And I hope we end up in interesting places.